Hey everybody, what is good? And welcome to Unit 3, Lesson 2, Exploration 1. So it's the first part of cellular respiration. So we're going to take a look at cellular respiration right now and talk about how organisms that eat are going to get the sugar and get energy out of it. So as we scroll down, here are two molecules that are jam-packed full of energy. And the energy is found in these covalent bonds in between the different atoms. And so ethanol is going to be a molecule that we can use just similar to gasoline and break down and release energy that way, where glucose is going to be a molecule that contains a great deal of energy, but it's going to be for living things, where this is going to create a usable fuel, kind of a replacement for gasoline. As we scroll down here, we're going to talk about energy in living systems and in living organisms. And cellular respiration is the process. We'll click the three dots. It says the process of producing ATP, which remember from photosynthesis, ATP is an energy-rich molecule by breaking down carbon-based molecules when oxygen is present. So what this means is when we take in oxygen, we can use a carbon-based molecule, which is glucose, C6H12O6, and we can release it and form it and release ATP and release energy from that way. So here is a graph of cellular respiration. And this is going to be an exothermic reaction. And what that means is we're going to have our reactants, which is going to be glucose and oxygen. And when we take those glucose and oxygen in and we break them apart, it is going to create carbon dioxide and water, but it's going to release all of this energy. And the difference in energy is going to be what we can harness and then use to operate our systems. And I mean humans, but remember, we're talking about all organisms that eat, all organisms that are going to gain energy through eating glucose and then release it. So as we scroll down here, we're going to take a little bit more of a closer look into, okay, that was an activity. So here's the process of cellular respiration. Now there are two types of cellular respiration. One is what we call aerobic. And aerobic is with the presence of oxygen. So if there is oxygen, if we can breathe oxygen and get it to our cells. Now remember, cellular respiration takes place inside cells at an organelle called the mitochondria, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this doesn't mean that you can breathe in oxygen. It means those individual cells that need the energy, that need the ATP, have oxygen. So even though you may have oxygen to breathe and to stay alive, those cells may have oxygen, but those cells also may not have oxygen, and that's what we call anaerobic. Anytime you put the A in or a letter A in front of a word, it means without. So here we have without oxygen. And what we mean is for example, if I'm running or if I'm throwing something, those muscles in those parts of the body that are working are using oxygen. And once they run out of oxygen, they're going to go from an aerobic process to then an anaerobic process. So it doesn't mean your entire body is out of oxygen. It just means those muscles that are working are out of oxygen. And the reason that this is important is because when we have aerobic cellular respiration, we are going to make far more ATP in the 30s per glucose molecule than we're going to make when we are anaerobic. Anaerobic is going to be a process called fermentation. And in lactic acid fermentation, which is what humans do, we are going to only going to make 6 to 8 ATP, where in aerobic, we're going to make over 30. And obviously from the exact same sugar molecule, that's a big difference. Now here's a little graphic of this fox. And what it shows is that this is cellular respiration. So when we eat sugar and take in oxygen, what we are doing is we are then going to break up these molecules, and then we are going to pull energy out of it. Now the energy is going to be, some of it is going to be released as heat, and we know that we are warm-blooded. And the reason we're warm-blooded is because as we break down sugar, we generate heat. And we're also going to generate water, and we're going to generate carbon dioxide. So we are going to bring in oxygen, bring in sugar. We are going to make carbon dioxide as a waste, and we are going to make water that our body just uses, but then we are going to release heat and then ATP. And this molecule right here is what we store so we can use it when we need it. So as we scroll down here, here is the chemical equation for cellular respiration. And what you'll notice is it's the exact same one as cellular respiration, just backwards. So we are going to take in sugar and we're going to take in oxygen, O2, and we're going to break these apart and we're going to form carbon dioxide as a waste. We're going to form water that we keep, but then this is what we need: heat and ATP. That's the energy. That's the energy from the sun that we're now releasing. Okay, the mitochondria is the organelle that's going to be in charge of where cellular respiration takes place. So this chemical equation that we just talked about right there, it is going to take place in our mitochondria, which is an organelle. Okay, now this, okay, is a plant cell. Remember, plants need to break down energy. Plants have mitochondria as well because these are chloroplasts. Okay, now, but human cells and animal cells, they have mitochondria as well. So cellular respiration and photosynthesis, how do they work together? Okay, so here's an example. Photosynthesis, right, we just talked about. Light energy goes in, and we're going to take in carbon dioxide, and we're going to take in water, and we're going to produce sugar and oxygen. Now, how does that go along with cellular respiration? Well, we need these, we need these, and plants need the opposite. So as we go down, the giraffe is going to take in the sugar and take in the oxygen that this plant made. It's going to release carbon dioxide and water, which is what plants need to survive, and this heat and energy. Okay, so the sun coming in here is going to be the exact same amount of energy being released here. We're going to store this one and we're going to release heat. So that's why photosynthesis and cellular respiration work together. Now that finishes up exploration 1. And when we go to exploration 2, the next time we meet, we're going to talk about how does cellular respiration take in sugar and break it down into ATP. We're actually going to look at it at the molecular level. So can't wait to see you guys again.